I saw it. Keep it clean. I will do everything in my absolute power.
Thank you.
If
116 episodes, I've only bleeped out 3. So
you just haven't met me yet.
This will be the 4th.
All right, we ready, Nate?
Yeah.
That didn't sound very sure,
convincing.
Sorry, I'm trying to answer the questions to join his Facebook.
No, just pull it up in a tab and leave it there. All right.
This is the Messy Backend, where experts share customized business advice and tips about all the messy stuff that goes on behind the beautifully branded front end of entrepreneurship. This is where most businesses fail, so we're here to help you save time, make money, and succeed.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you all so much. We have a wonderful show for you today. Sheila and I know that podcasting is a very powerful tool. Nowadays, there are more and more businesses using podcasts to improve their prospecting, stay in touch with their current customers, and to build authority. Podcasts have essentially become the new talk radio and a very powerful marketing tool. In fact, thanks to mobile devices, podcasting has exploded. As Jordan Harbinger once said, most people that I know are interested in on-demand stuff. Podcasts is essentially audio Netflix.
On our expert segment today, we're going to be speaking with Donnie Boivin. Donnie is a 20-year sales guy that got tired of making everyone else wealthy. He started his business and ran it into the ground. He almost had to file bankruptcy. He had no clue how to be a business owner. But finding podcasting taught him a lot of things, and he turned his company, Success Champion, around. You don't want to miss this episode if you want to build your business.
And you'll hear real questions and stories from real entrepreneurs with real messy backends. As an added bonus for the Messy Backend Exposed, our expert Donnie will not only share his experience, expertise, and the tools he suggests to get your backend cleaned up, but he will also expose the best way to get yourself onto podcasts.
And if you're an entrepreneur with a messy backend, which we know you are if you're an entrepreneur, you need to submit your story or question so experts like Donnie can answer them for you. Give us a call at 801-810-6726 or visit us at themessybackend.com. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of The Messy Backend, brought to you by our digital marketing agency, Lock and Load Marketing, where if it tires you out, you can hire it out. We wanted to take a minute and stop and thank you for being such great listeners.
Seriously, we can't do this without you. Thank you so much for listening and supporting us these last 2 years. We've loved sharing our expert guests, our stories, our experiences, our embarrassing, messy backend bloopers with you. We've just loved everything about this podcast. And if you love the show as much as we do, we want to hear from you. Leave a review on your favorite podcast platform or email us at hello@themessybackend.com. Who knows? Soon we may just have cool branded swag to give out to our top fans.
That's going to be super cool. And don't forget to subscribe to your favorite podcast platform. You can find all of those links at themessybackend.com/subscribe. So never miss an episode because they're pretty fun. Then check us out on Facebook and YouTube for video episodes. Now on to our expert, Donnie Boivin, for his expert advice. Don't mess your seat, folks. Here we go.
So today we have one of our messy backend questions, and it says, I love podcasts and they are super popular. I also know that having your own podcast can be a lot of work. Can a podcast be beneficial to my already existing business? Donnie.
100%. And let me clarify, podcasting is not a lot of work. If you set it up right. I've got 2 of the top podcasts in the world with Success Champions in growth mode, and they cost me less than, an hour a week to take care of. And that's full processes, full marketing, full everything else. Now with anything, the first time you get into it, it's going to be tough as you figure things out and find your rhythm. But I think anybody, especially with an established business, is going to have people that completely geek out on them, their message, what they do. I think often people forget that there's people that just want to hang out with them, people that want to be close to them, people that want to be part of the ride. I have so many people that because of the way I talk, which you won't hear the full Donnie version on this show. If you really want to get the raw, unfiltered version, go listen to my podcast and many other places. I'll be so no profanity here, so I'll do my best. But what I'll tell you is there's people that just want to be around my message, the way, and people volunteer to help all kinds of stuff. So, and they want to help out. And I think most people really miss out on an opportunity of letting people help them out. And most anybody who has a podcast or has even a micro following is going to have somebody that wants to help them edit, put the information together, or you got somebody who's just starting in social media that needs somebody to practice with. Let them be you and just start reaching out to your network. But, podcasting is the most unique platform in the world where, like YouTube, people choose what they consume. So you go to YouTube for how to. You go to YouTube because you're like, I need to, grow my podcast. I need to build a fence. I need to do whatever. So YouTube's the how-to channel. Podcasting is very much the same. It's just people do it for more of a learning versus the how-to. So think about it. When I launched my last book, Endless Stream of Referrals, the first thing I did before we took it to market was I jumped on Google Podcast. I typed in, how do you freaking market a podcast, market a book via podcast? And several shows just popped up that I could go listen to. Now, there was a lot of crappy shows out there and people who had no business having podcasts because they don't know what the heck they're doing. But there was a lot of good information and we learned a lot. And, because of some of the things we learned, we got our 4th best-selling book out there in the marketplace. But yeah, absolutely. I think anybody who has something they geek out on should 100% start a business or start a podcast. And, it doesn't have to be about your business. And the more crazy, weird, geeky, whatever you're into it is, the better, because then your tribe, your people show up.
Yeah. Funny story. Like when I named the podcast, I've only had one person say this. I'm sure that many people have thought about it.
I thought it.
You thought it. Everybody thought it. They're like, I thought it a dirty diaper when I heard that. I said, did you stop and wonder what it was about? You know what I mean? So coming from the South, that's something that you people say is they're going to make a mess. And my daughter said, we were driving one day and she about wrecked. And I said, oh, dang it, girl, you're going to make me mess in my seat. And she just bust up laughing. It was, so okay. Editor's got to bleep out the name. Minute number, whatever. Okay. So Nate knows which one this is. So she just busted up laughing. And I thought, that'd be a great thing for a blog post. Then I thought that'd be a great thing for a book. And then I was like, that's perfect for mine and Nate's podcast, because how many people do you hear, and especially in the online world, the back end of my business is a mess. And so that's kind of how it just got started. And then, as you can tell, my accent is a mess because it comes and goes. I have a problem with my accent. It comes and goes. But the back end of everything is messy, but you just got to simplify it, I think.
Well, what I love about your guys' name, and this is 100% sincere, is there's so many people on the front end telling everybody to start businesses, get in a game, become an entrepreneur, and it's all painted like it's sunshine and rainbows. You guys just come up, slap them in the face and say, look, here's the messy back end. Here's the stuff that people don't tell you about. This is the stuff you need to get prepared for, because nobody tells you how hard it is to build a business. Nobody tells you, all the crap you're going to go through. So brilliant name, to get people in there. If I hadn't seen it in a business category as I was looking for podcasts to jump on, I'm not sure I would have dove in further, but I love, what you guys are doing. It's a lot of fun.
Thanks. Yeah, that's actually the first thing that you said to me when you applied was, I love the name of your podcast. Yep. And we love the name of our podcast. And we like to talk about all the hard things, because we want people to really get serious and look deep into what they're getting into before they get into it, so they don't get discouraged. So you don't have so many people failing at business if they really look at it from the other side of things. The front end is beautifully branded, and you can find somebody who knows how to do some beautiful branding, and they can take about $10,000 from you and then disappear.
Yeah.
So you got to know what's really going on in the back end. We should do like a whole series. You know how they have like the series of the Dummy's Guide to whatever.
Right.
The messy back end of like marriage.
You should.
The messy back end of, all the things. But so tell us.
You pick marriage first, Sheila.
Right.
Do you have a confession to make?
No.
No, but Sheila hinted on something that I want to back up just 2 seconds and let people know. You said that when I reached out, one of the first things I said was, I love the name of your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, if you ever want to be a guest on a show, compliment the damn host. Mm-hmm. Dude, anybody who has a podcast, we all have egos, right? We're not doing this because, we love the sound of our voices. Some of us do, but, we're doing this because we're trying to get our brands out there, our names out there. We're trying to get our message out there. So if you want to get on somebody's show, tell them how well they're doing. Stroke the hell out of their ego. Can I say hell? Stroke the hell out of their ego. And let them know they're doing a good job because, there is a whole business side to podcasting as a whole.
Let's talk about getting on podcasts, because you and I both know Nate doesn't see the applications. I do. People will send me a whole wall of information about themselves. And I'm like, so have you listened to the podcast? Yeah. Because at the very beginning, it says, go to here to apply. And instead, they just send me an email directly. And then they send me all the information that's not helpful for me at all. Your application was perfect. 3 lines about your messy story, 3 lines of a bio. Oh, my lands, when people send us a list of 2 pages of bio.
Oh, and then they tell you all the things that they can speak about. That's the worst. They're like, and I can come on your show and I can speak. Look, I don't give a damn what you can speak about.
Pick one and listen to my podcast at least once. I did make that mistake. I went on a podcast and I had not listened to the guy's podcast. And at the very end, he asked me a question. And I said, oh, my Lanta, I said, you should have prepared me for this question. And he said, I asked this question at the end of every single episode. And I was like, ooh, foot in the mouth. Glad nobody could see my face when that happened. And thank heavens I could pull something out of my, to my Bessie Backend to slap on there. But you do, this is one of my big things too, is that you don't have to listen to the whole middle. If you listen to at least the first, bits of it, maybe 5-10 minutes in, listen to the last 5 or 10 minutes, you get a feel for what the flow of the show is going to be, what questions they're going to ask. Am I really going to be able to have a rapport with these people? Because we have to have a whole episode about rapport. I mean, we have had people on, as I'm sure you have, their episode. Oh, sorry, that got deleted. We're not going to be airing that one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've got episodes that'll never see the light of day.
Yeah.
They just accidentally got deleted. Oops.
Dang it.
Cat ate the hard drive.
I think that would be at a podcast, summit or something. I think they should do a whole segment on, the episodes that won't air and why they won't air. Cause I've got some doozies.
Oh yeah. We hear so many stories, I'll tell you. So tell us one of your messy back-end stories of, either getting your processes in order. Like you said at the very beginning, podcasting is easy. It only takes an hour a week. And I'm laughing because when I first started, all I did was podcasting all day. I had to put my digital marketing agency aside to figure out the whole thing. And now my podcast is pretty slick. Things kind of go more smoothly, but I probably average about half an hour an episode. I would love to know how to make that slimmer. So how did you kind of work through those?
Oh, it's really easy. Quit being the person that does it.
Oh, well, then there's that too. I do have an editor now. I don't do the editing anymore. As of episode 100, I don't do the editing. So if you ever hear anything that's messed up, that's not me. But I listen to every episode before it goes live.
For our podcast growth mode, I have 1, 2, 3. I'm looking because I'm counting the names. They're all written on a board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We have 15 people on the growth mode podcast that are all doing the back end and taking care of editing, YouTube, audio engineering, and everything else. Majority of those people are volunteers.
Really?
So when you put out good content and you have a genuine heart of helping other people, they want to be around you. And there's a lot of people that want to geek out in your world when you're doing good things. Let That's them true. Come geek out. I promise you, there, with as many episodes as you guys have, there is somebody that would love to be in y'all's corner every step of the way, and they have a talent or skill set that they need more exposure, more people talking about them. I talk about everybody on my team religiously in the marketplace, saying, dude, if you need a video editor, you need Greg. If you need an audio guy, you need Brian. If you need somebody that's going to specialize in YouTube, you need Neethu. And I become their number one referral source because I'm focused on growing their business because of what they're doing for me.
People used to call me the connection fairy godmother, because they could call me and I could get them connected with just about anybody. But in the podcast world, I am not that well. I'm connected with podcasters, but I have been so busy in the back end that I'm missing those pieces. So we're going to give you full, open door to our website, and we're going to put links to all of your people, if you'd like, on the episode for your thing. And
I'd love to do that.
What is it called? I'm sorry. I'm off my ADD meds and I can't focus on anything these days anymore. I'm trying to be good. Your podcast.
Rum will fix that, right?
Rum
slows the mind down.
I got to do something, bro. I'm just drinking the Propel right now.
That goes the opposite direction. It propels your mind forward.
Right. Yeah. Slow it down.
I like Donnie's way of thinking.
Right?
I like this.
Yeah. Well, that's good. So, Nate, do you have a...
No, go ahead, Donnie.
Yeah, go
really,
ahead.
really quick to make it even more is podcasting, like social media, is just a collection of systems. I am not a system guy, right? For me, a system is like trying to follow a rule. And if you tell me to follow a rule, I'm going to break it just because I don't want to be told what to do. But if you're built like I am, and it sounds like you are, Sheila, Nate, I'm not sure how you're structured, but if you're not a process person, you need to build the processes so other people can get things done. Let people geek out on what they geek out on, and don't try and learn things that you don't give a damn about.
Like editing podcasts.
Right. Editing podcasts sucks.
Oh, it's awful.
Unless it's like Brian, who does a lot of my stuff, dude loves it. His entire business is the audio engineering, editing, the whole 9 yards. He absolutely loves doing it. And I try and introduce him to as many podcasters as I can so he can do more of it. And so when you find people like that and you become their champion, man, they want to step up and do a lot of cool things for you. So find the people, let them geek out. Go ahead, your question, Nate. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, brother.
No. I'm glad you added that. It kind of just reminded me a couple of years ago, I got started a little bit more in just trying to share my story and create YouTube videos and those type of things. And I had several friends reach out to me and say, hey, Nate, like, why aren't you having a YouTube channel? Why aren't you doing a podcast? These type of things. Right. Sheila was on that. Nate, come do a podcast, these type of things. But you're absolutely right. When you have that message and you are authentic, and I think that's kind of what you're trying to say is like, when you are yourself and when you're showing up, people want to resonate with you. They want to feel included. They want to be a part of that. And in my experience, I had a lot of people reaching out and saying, Nate, let me help you with your branding, your logos, your ads, your video editing and everything, because we want your message out there. But this is what they would say to me. They go, I don't have the skills to talk in front of a large crowd. I don't have the skills to be on camera. I don't have these skills. But what skills do I have? I have audio engineering skills. I have editing skills, whatever. And we all just want to work together. We want to feel included. That's why people go to church on Sunday, is because they want to feel included and have a, common thing to gather around. And I think, like you said, podcasting in the groups, like you said, you've got that Facebook group where you bring people together. That's what it's all about, it sounds like.
Well, and I think you think about it, it's like, if the more money I make, the more people can be in abundance around me, because I can bring them up with me. And there's a lot of people like Brian, my audio engineer. I don't think he's ever wanted to be a guest ever on a podcast. Let him be behind the scenes, getting my director of operations, Kevin, who does the Growth Mode podcast with me. He's not big in the limelight, but I've pulled him along for the ride. But there's a lot of people that don't want to be out there, but they absolutely love what they do. Those are the perfect people to partner up with, because the bigger they can help you go, the more business they will get because you become their champion. And that's the biggest takeaway for people to understand. I always struggle with the word authentic though. And the reason I struggle with it is because people misinterpret it. People think that being authentic means I need to Facebook it, means I need to share my breakfast. I need to share, what I had for lunch, what's my bathroom break time. Nobody cares. Authenticity means you share what you want to geek out with others on. So, I talk a lot about podcasting. I talk a lot about building a business. I talk about my farm and my baby goats. I cuss like I cuss and talk like I talk because it brings my people to the table. And what I mean by my people is the people that are into the same people, same stuff, people that are into building businesses and podcasting, and networking and sales and all the likes, so be authentic in what you want to geek out with others on. Don't worry about all the stuff.
I love that clarifier because I think you're right. A lot of people think authentic means I have to try and show who I am in the real world. It almost comes out fake sometimes though. Yeah. Like I hate social media, but I make my posts because I need to, because of what I am, but I'm not going to, unauthentically like dump my whole life out there. And you're right. The way that you talk attracts the right people, right? So we are looking.
And it also keeps the wrong people away, which is brilliant.
True that. I mean, Ryan Dice said that you need to detract as many people as you attract. And
if you're not pissing off somebody, you're not playing the game right.
There's
right.
That
you're not being loud enough if you don't have any enemies.
Yep.
Like you're not making a big enough impact.
Yeah.
You're too small. You're not being again, I'm going to use this word, Donnie, because I want people to know the real meaning of that authentic. But no, you're absolutely right. I think a lot of people think that authenticity means like transparency and like, oh, let me just show everything. And I'm not like that at all on social media. I'm not like, like I'll go on vacations and never once post like, oh, I'm on the airplane. Oh, I'm, here's my boarding pass. Like, no, I'm not doing that kind of stuff. But if there's something cool, I'm going to share it. Or really what I'm sharing on social media are the things that matter to me, that are authentic to me. It's, hey, you know what? People have told me to be quiet about this topic my entire life, and I'm not going to be. Because this is what's important to me. Like Taco Bell, exactly. Taco Bell, you can send me as many cease and desist letters as you want, but I will still talk about you on my podcast because that's the only fast food I eat. So, no, I definitely agree with you on that, though, Donnie.
Well, and I think people need to wrap their head around, for me, social media is business, right? I don't give a really had to catch myself. I don't give a cuss word about, people knowing what's going on in my life. So if I'm sharing something like I do kickboxing now, I just started that, and things like that, it's only to connect further with people that I'm, networking with, doing business with, collaborating with, and growing bigger with, otherwise, there's no point in me sharing it. I don't care what you had for breakfast. I don't care, that you're filling out your journal, whatever. I don't care. Just your personal life is your personal life. You want to talk business? Let's talk.
Yeah. If your followers care about what you have for breakfast, then obviously that's what you want to do. But what I have to say right now is that I'm so impressed with and we're going to use the same word, but you being authentic right now is what I see. Is that you are just being real. And so many speakers, podcasters, big business guys, when they get to the level that you're at, or one of my biggest fears to getting that really high level, and they just become this fake person. They only talk to people who are at their level. They talk down to everybody else. They're not real. They actually have become real, unauthentic people.
So I'm going to challenge that just a little bit. And the reason I want to challenge it is they may not have become that person. They may have evolved to another level that makes it feel like and come that way. Because, for instance, I went back to a networking group that I was a part of when I worked for other people, and I hadn't been there in 10 years, right? So I went back and visited the group. those people, God love them, amazing, awesome people, but they were in the same spot they were 10 years ago. They hadn't grown, they hadn't evolved. So I'm sure I came across as arrogant. I'm sure I came across like I didn't want to be there. The truth of the matter is I didn't want to be there. I don't want to be around people that aren't getting after life. And if you're in the same spot you were 10 years ago, there's no value in that conversation for me. I want to continue to grow and evolve. Doesn't mean you shouldn't be a jerk hole in the, in the marketplace. Right? Did you like that one?
Yeah.
That was a good one.
But there's no reason to ever be a straight up jerk, but there's every reason to make sure that your circles are very tight with the right people.
Yeah.
You guys have heard it a bajillion times when Jim Rohn said it, your circle's the 5 people you hang out with. Mm-hmm. But what people don't take into account is those 5 people are your 5 closest friends, your 5 prospects you're going after, your 5 best clients. It's those 5s revolve wherever you're going. And if you're spending time with people that aren't getting after life, they're going to pull you down versus you pulling yourself up. So I don't think they're always being arrogant. I think they've just evolved.
I think that's true. My frustration is, and maybe I'm just have run into the wrong people at the wrong time, is that they don't even give you a chance before you even open your mouth.
So I was at
look past you.
Yeah, I was at a PGA golf tournament. I'm not a golfer. I hit a little white ball around and yelled "damn" a lot. But Troy Aikman happened to be up in the stands as we were watching this big PGA thing, and a friend of mine that was with me walked up and said, "Hey, Troy, can I get your autograph?" And he looked right at her and said, "I'm enjoying the game. We're not doing that right now."
Yeah.
And in 2 seconds, I had thoughts run through my head. I'm like, 1, what a damn jerk. You're in the limelight, be in the limelight. But 2, I also had the thought process, man, how often is that guy approached? Everywhere he goes. Right. Yep. So there's part of it. People are just jerks, but I like the idea of being humble enough that if somebody wants to say hi, give them 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Say hi back.
Well, and I think he handled it well. I think he could have said, really, I appreciate it, but I can't do that right now. I'm enjoying the game. Because if he had signed that, do you know how many other people?
Oh, for sure.
It would have totally destroyed his game. So I think there's a way to say it, but like I met a speaker once. I was introduced by another speaker friend of hers to this speaker, and they said, "Hey, this is Sheila. She's a speaker as well. She does podcasting." And she goes, "Hey," and she disregarded every single thing out of my mouth. Then she saw my podcast. And then all of a sudden she wanted to be my friend. So there's all the different varieties, right?
Yeah. So what some people need to understand is 90% of your coaches, speakers, consultants are broke as hell, are not running a successful business. So when they get a moment in the spotlight, they're trying to project that they're freaking bigger than they actually are. So it comes across as pompous.
That's true. Truly
successful people give people their time because they understand that those are the people that are paying for their products or services. Yeah. It's none of us that have found any level of success get there without people buying our stuff. And you've got to respect. So if you're getting speakers and consultants and those type of people treating you like talking down to you, it's because they're so broke that they need the ego stroke of people walking up to them. I gave a speech one time with about 400 people in a room, and I went at Bon Jovi style. And I'm not the run across the stage Tony Robbins guy, but for some reason, this speech I did. And when I got done, I'm just exhausted, man, just wore out. And I sit, in a chair for a second, and I keep telling myself, I'm like, dude, you got to get up and say hi to people. You got to get up and say hi to people. And I'm just, all I want to do is sit. So I get up and I come back out from behind the stage, and I'm talking to everybody. And a guy walks up to me, and this was actually April of 2018. I know the exact date it was. Walks up to me and said, "I love your story. Would you come tell your story on my podcast?" I said, "What's a podcast?" And that was the first time I was ever introduced to podcasting. Had I not got off my duff and walked out and been amongst the people, who knows? I mean, because podcasting saved my business, and I've built, 5 companies with it, have 2 of the top podcasts in the world, all because that guy walked up and said, I'd love for you to tell my story on a podcast. So the people who aren't giving people the time of day are either natural born jerks. God, this is so hard to talk this way. Or they are broke people, broke minded, or broke financially.
It's the truth.
100%. Definitely. Don't be broke mentally.
Yeah, broke mentally makes a big difference. So, your biggest thing that we wanted to talk about is how podcasting saved your business.
Sure.
Why don't you tell us that story?
So I'll just keep going off of that story of the gentleman. I went on his podcast, which unfortunately is no longer around. He pod faded out, but
faded, is that a word? Oh my gosh, that's a word.
That's a word. That's what they call it when a podcast goes away, is pod fading.
I never heard it.
So give
let's
people
not pod fade.
Yeah, let's give people some real statistics. Apple reported that there's 2 million podcasts in the marketplace right now. Of those 2 million, 67% haven't produced a show in the last year.
Yeah.
So, and majority of those shows that have failed are being hosted on Anchor. So people just need to know that. But when I went on that guy's show and we had a phenomenal conversation like this one, it was a lot of fun. And, I didn't really think anything of it. But when the show aired 2 days later, one of his listeners reached out to me and became a client. And I went, wait, hold on. I can go on podcasts and people will hire me to do stuff.
That was too easy.
Hold my beer and watch this stuff.
Right.
So the next 30 days, I jumped on, and I was on 67 shows in the next 30 days.
Woo! Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. Well, I've got 20 years of being a sales guy. So I deployed every sales tactic and strategy. Dude, if you had a podcast, you were hearing from me.
Well, you know what? If you do this, so 30 podcasts in 30 days is a big deal right now. And if you do that, the cool thing about being on other people's podcasts is all you have to do is show up and look pretty, which is what Nate does every single one of our episodes. He just shows up and looks pretty. All you have to do for the other podcasts, you don't have to edit, you don't have to market, you don't have to do anything. You share it on your own, but that's the easy thing to do, is to be on somebody else's podcast.
Yeah, for sure. 100% agree with that. And, what happened during those 67 episodes is somewhere around the 50th interview I did, I happened to go on a guy's show. Long story short, the dude was so bad at interviewing. I mean, the people love when I tell the story. So what happened was he sent me 20 questions that he was going to interview me on. And I show up on Zoom, sit across from him, and he goes, question number 1.
Oh my gosh.
And I answered question number 1. He then goes, question 2. And I answered question 2. He goes, question 3. And I went, oh, hell, he's going to keep doing this. So me being me, I'm like, dude, tell me about your podcast. How did you get into this? What's your story? And he goes, question number 4. And he went all 20 questions, no banter, no back and forth.
Just
you should just start answering yes,
right.
No.
Bueller, right?
Bueller.
Answer 13. That's how you should answer with the number.
Finish up with question 12 and then go. And the next question is
question 13. Answer 13. But yeah, that guy was so bad that I'm like, dude, man, if this guy has any success whatsoever with a podcast, I got to start one. So I launched Success Champions in May of 2018. And then 5 months later, it was up there with Tim Ferriss and Tony and Gary and all the guys. Nowhere near their level of downloads, but we were really cutting through, a lot of the noise. And the fascinating thing happened was, one, I was getting approached by some big names like Shailene Johnson, Neil Patel, and just some really big names were asking to come on the show. And I went, holy crap, if I'm doing this, I can't have this complete bleep show of a podcast. Yeah. And so I had to learn the operational side of business. I had to learn to put systems in place. I had to learn to outsource. I had to learn to handle a calendar and their people with my people. And, it became a fascinating experiment. And because of some of those meetings, introductions, that's what took me around the world speaking, including a 9-city tour, speaking on podcasting in Ireland, which was a blast. And, with that, I learned to outsource. I learned to handle the financials. I learned how to run a business because I had to. And that's what allowed us to build the Facebook group, which led to the people we call the champions getting involved in our world and diving in further. And from there, we started building products and services that fit them. So we launched a magazine called Success Champions Magazine that was built for them. We launched, can I say the name of my summit? Bleep this out if it's not allowed. The name of my summit is the Badass Business Summit. So that's bleep okay. That out if that's not okay.
No, that's okay, because the way you're using it, that's fine. But
right. But that's the name of it. We launched that because of them. We launched Success Champions Networking to fix what everybody hates about networking groups. Because, everybody's tired of the boring BNI style model. Nothing against BNI, but BNI hasn't evolved since 1985, and that's where all the rookies go. So we set out to fix that. And we launched that in March of 20 and now have almost 40 chapters across the U.S. And we're getting ready to open up in the UK, Mexico, and Canada.
That's awesome.
And all of it stems from a guy walking up and saying, "Hey, will you be a guest on my podcast?" And forcing me to do things I hadn't done before, screwing a lot of things up, figuring out the process and systems, finding people that want to geek out with me, and picking up a guy named Kevin Snow, who's my director of operations, who we met in a Facebook group and had a random conversation. And now he runs the whole back end of my company.
That's awesome.
So it's about putting yourself in positions where you're going to learn the things you don't currently know.
Yeah. I love that so much. Your story is so real, and it's how so many things get started. And a lot of people go into business thinking, I have this great idea. I'm going to go and I'm going to build it. And then I'm going to find the people. What you did is you went on the podcasting, and then you realized there's a need for this. And there's people who are already following me who will buy it when I've created. Mm-hmm. And so I saw this show about a billionaire the other day that said, I always start a business by finding what people want, and then I build it. He doesn't build it and then go find people to do it. And I think that's where a lot of people kind of sometimes you have to kind of do both at the same time. Sometimes if you're trying to get out of a job or something like that. But thank you so much for being on our podcast today. And if you can just let everybody know where they can get a hold of you. You've said all of the names, but go ahead and where's the best way? And definitely be on our website as well.
Yeah, for sure. Social media, just look for Donnie Boivin. I'm everywhere on social media, including TikTok, but you won't see me dancing. So the come hang out in the course of Facebook group called Success Champions. So if you just start Googling Success Champions, Donnie Boivin, we're going to pop up. Awesome. If you're looking for information on the summit, go to the badassbusinesssummit.com. If you're looking for information on the networking group, Success Champions Networking, the podcast, Growth Mode, wherever you listen to podcasts, or YouTube, and then Success Champions for podcasting as well. If you want to talk to me directly, I am stupid easy to get a hold of. Get on social media, send me a DM, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. It's me. I reply to every message, every DM I get. If you ever want access to me, feel free to reach out. All the social media, it's me. I don't have somebody behind the scenes posting social media. So all the stuff you see, that's me.
You're really authentic. That's really cool.
I'm when I launched the business, nobody was telling the messy back end of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I learned, I heard Gary Vee once upon a time say, document your journey. And that's all I've done. I want to help more people find success by learning from my mistakes. So that's what we're doing.
Us too. That's why you're a perfect fit for this podcast. So thank
you. It
helps
that I'm good looking too, right?
It totally helps that you're good looking. Now we do a video podcast for all y'all listening. Go to the YouTube and our Facebook page, and you will actually be able to see the conversation, which we think is just as fun to be able to see it sometimes. So.
For sure.
Yeah. Thanks for being on here, Don.
Absolutely. Guys, do me one last final favor.
Yeah.
Listeners, if you guys got any value out of this show, the Messy Backend of Business, do Sheila and Nate the biggest favor and teach somebody else how to subscribe or listen or follow to the show. Running a podcast myself, I can tell you that when somebody subscribes to the show or they share, they leave a comment, it's like you walked up and gave us a virtual hug. So if you got anything out of this, it was worth your time, share it, subscribe it, teach somebody else to subscribe it, show them love by getting other people to listen to this.
I think we need to change our bumper, and we're just going to use that and put it in
By
our
all means.
Just that. Thank you.
right now. It's not quite as cool as what you just said right now. So.
Right. We're just stealing that audio clip, and we're going to put that in there. I love it. Thank you, Donnie. Thank you so much for coming on today. You've been great.
Absolutely, guys. My honor.
To today's episode of The Messy Backend. We know you can't get enough of us, so have us on your podcast or have us speak at your next event. Visit themessybackend.com/speaking and send us your event details.
It's true. We love speaking. And we also want to thank our sponsor, Yes Women's Network, where you will find the connections you need to achieve your dreams. Find out more at yeswomensnetwork.com.
Also, our advertiser, PodServe FM. We couldn't do it without them. They get your podcast hosted and published quickly and easily. Visit them at podserve.fm/messy to find out more.
And a thank you to our advertiser, ThriveCart. They are the #1 shopping cart software that grows your income from existing traffic with high converting checkout pages, upsells, and affiliate campaigns. Watch the video for how simple this cart solution is at themessybackend.com/cart.
Once again, don't miss an episode. Head on over to your favorite podcast platform and subscribe today. My computer is not plugged in.
I'm not taking the blame for that. That's your fault.
No, Nate.
Have you ever seen the movie Fantastic Mr. Fox?
I tried, but I just couldn't get into it.
That's fair. It's not for everybody. But one thing that
it really shouldn't be for anybody, but we'll go with it's not for everybody.
It shouldn't be.